Greetings, everyone, and good afternoon from Oxford, Mississippi. Welcome to Community Chats for Wednesday, April 29th. My name is Anthony Syracuse, the Director of Community Engagement at the University of Mississippi, and I am pleased to be joined, as I am in this space, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with my colleagues, Aaron Peiser-Oath and Jody Holland from Loft. And as you all know, if you've been following along with us, these are regular conversations, community chats, with individuals in the Lafayette Oxford University community who are working hard to make a difference in our region. In many cases, these are folks who have been working for many years to make a positive impact in the community, and our guest today is absolutely one of those people. Before we get to John, I just want to remind you, Community Chats comes to you live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 12 noon until 12:30. And our goal here is to elevate the voices of local leaders in the community and allow them to tell their stories in their words. Who are they? How did they come to be involved in the important work that they do in our community? What is that work, and what are their visions for the future? Please be in touch with us. If you'd like to be interviewed on the show, you can send us a direct message on Facebook, or if you know somebody who we should interview on the show, that's really helpful for us as well. You can reach out to us at engaged@olemiss.edu on the email if that's your preferred way of being in contact. Finally, I just want to name that this is an initiative of the Office of Community Engagement at the University of Mississippi in partnership with Loft, Lafayette Oxford Foundation for Tomorrow. We are deeply grateful for this partnership and for this collaborative endeavor. And if you'd like to learn more about Loft, you can go back to our first show, which we shot last week. Now, without further ado, today, we have the distinct honor of being joined by John Kohne from the Pantry. John has been working as a volunteer at the Pantry since 2013, and in 2017, he was recognized as Volunteer of the Year, no small distinction. John, welcome to the show.
Good day, good day. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So let's get started by having you just tell us a little bit about where did you grow up and how did you land in Oxford, Lafayette?
Well, goodness, growing up, that's an interesting. I started out the oldest of a family of 6 kids in St. Louis, Missouri. We were, a good Catholic family, and I got my good roots as far as community involvement early on through the church. And then I carried those with me. I went off to the University of Missouri and graduated from college. Did 20 years in the Navy. I'm a pilot by choice, as it worked out. It was the best way for me to handle the Vietnam era and moving through that, but that's another story. And then after 20 years in the Navy, I found myself working for Federal Express, flying for them out of Memphis. So 20 years with them. The Association of Memphis, Tennessee, and living out in East Shelby County, both my girls, I have 2 daughters, and they both went to school in Germantown and Houston High School, and both traveled down here to Oxford. So there's my Oxford connection. So
neat.
After they both graduated, and their graduations were right around 1998, 2002, that time frame. They both did 7 years away from Oxford, but they both, the kinship with Oxford was there. They were coming back. So they both came down here, and then as I approached retirement, the wife said, we're going to go where the kids are and maybe start stimulating some effort towards grandchildren. And that worked out. That worked out to the positive. So the effort was well worth it. I have a 3.5-year-old granddaughter that I absolutely adore, and she has me around her finger. So I do have some things to do besides my nonprofit effort. But let's talk about that. 2012, I actually moved here in 2010 and still just transferred. I went back and forth to Memphis to work, but by 2012, I got involved with my church, and I did a tour of October with the Pantry, and thought this was really something I could get my hands into and get involved in. Never walked away. And within only a couple of years, they saw that I was had a little bit of enthusiasm. So I found my way into the directorship of just kind of making it work and making one level of it work.
Cool. Thank you so much.
That's fantastic, John. And I've worked with you in the past, and you've been with Loft supported you and other projects in the community. You do bring a lot of energy to the community, so thank you for that. And through that process, of getting to the position, I kind of want to know. You told me a little bit about how you got to that position. in the nonprofit. But sitting at that position, what do you see as the best experiences in your past that contribute to the position today?
Prior to the pantry, as I said, I'll go back to my roots. I have a compassionate heart. Sometimes in the aggressiveness of industry, you don't always show it, but I always try to find a way to do it. I was a peer volunteer back in the FedEx part of the time, where I did an awful lot of supportive personnel that were dealing with issues, dealing with hardships in their life. So I had a kinship for helping. So I kind of carried that with me. And when I got involved with, once again, with my church and stepping into the pantry, I just felt a kinship to try to help people. You know, it's funny. I went back way back when and got in and did a search on Wikipedia for Lafayette County. And we're now 2019, 2020, we're approaching 52,000 in this county. And according to Wikipedia, 23% of those people are below the poverty level. Well, that's 11,000 people. But when you look at what we serve at the pantry, it's only 1/10 to 15% of that. So there's a need. And I just want to foster that need and try to be someone out there in the front saying, how can we make it better? How can we make it work better?
Yeah. Wow. That is inspiring. So for those that may not be familiar with the pantry, would you just tell us a little bit about all that the pantry does and what would be your kind of spiel? What's the mission and the crux of the work that you do day in, day out?
You know, the focus of the pantry has always been church. There were 3 different congregations back in 1982 that saw a need for emergency food supplement for the people of the county. And they got together and they established a pantry. And then through time, it built up from just an emergency response to a monthly response to those in need. The key, I take it back, the key to the pantry success is church, because the way it's set out, there are 12 different congregations, each has a month. And I'm the coordinator. I just transition the runnings of the pantry from one month to the next, from one church to the next. And that's a big part of how this process works so well at the pantry. It's because the community people are so heavily involved through their different congregations. I cannot say enough about the strength of the different churches when they come together to do their 30, 31 days of penance, if you want to look at it that way, or just their time to shine with the pantry. And they really do shine in their own perspective as they run the pantry each month. So the pantry has been around. The pantry helps any county individual, especially if they fall into hard times, fire. The Red Cross is quick to let us know about people that are in hardship, or storm damage, things of that nature. We jump at the opportunity to help those people. But on a month-to-month, day-to-day, there's such a good sized population that's living on, well, I'll tell you, there's 350 to 360 seniors that are living on Social Security that really need supplemental food. And they're a key to our process. And there's families that fall in and out of that. So food insecurity is a way of life, unfortunately, throughout Mississippi. And I feel that we're probably one of the stellar counties that has an opportunity to really help in that regard. And there's a number of different people and individuals that make that work. I should say community process that makes that work. And I'm very happy, and I feel proud to be a part of that.
Yeah, John, you've kind of started talking about this, and but it would be great if you could go in a little more depth about kind of what the team looks like on this. I mean, obviously you as the kind of coordinator, kind of direct and transition from congregation to congregation, but talk a little bit about your team. You know, how do you make this work from a team-based perspective?
That's a very important concept that we have to talk about too, because there's 2 different processes. There's the screening and interview process, which is totally separate from what I do. And a young lady named Connie Parham is the director over the screeners. And that's a special person. That's a person that has that heart of gold, the compassion, the willing to sit down, the tolerance in some regards to sit down and talk to these people on a regular basis. Every time they come in, they get interviewed. Every time they come in, we review their folder and say, okay, what's going on with you now? How can we help you now? So that we address the issues that they're going through, not just from a food point of view, but how can we get you to the other nonprofit or that other organization within Lafayette County that take you to the next step, whether it be with your children, whether it be with clothing, whatever the issue is, we address that. So that the screening is a very important part of it. So they get screened, they get reviewed, and then they walk through the door and they get groceries. So the highlight is the grocery. That's the big part, but that they actually walk away with is a grocery cart full of food. But the other side of it, the more important side of it, in some regards that I don't want to lose sight of, is the screeners. There's 8 teams of 4 to 5 people that, so a screener is basically only working once a month, but he's working a Wednesday and Thursday. And they have the continuity of, oh, here's Miss Pugliese again. Here's Miss Smith again. She's coming back through. How are you doing, Miss Smith? How are things going? And there's a little bit of continuity then with our regulars, but more importantly, they see when they're coming in the door that they're getting more than just food. Someone's talking to them. Someone's listening to what's going on in their life. Someone gives them a little bit of advocacy in that regard. Then they come over to the church, whatever church that is, and they get greeted, they get smiled at, and they get walked through the grocery line to get their groceries. Please understand, throughout the county, people get groceries usually in a box. The volunteers simply show up at a warehouse and they fill up a box. Then they set the boxes outside and people drive through and they put a box in their car. That is based upon the level of volunteerism and the level of what the community can provide. And we know that there's a lot of poor communities and counties in this state. So that's the normal pantry. Whereas we're one of a few that take it up a step, thanks to all these churches that have been participating for so long. And we give these people the dignity of a walk-through grocery, somewhat selection process, and they walk out with a grocery cart full of food.
John, that sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds like you guys really tailor to not just their needs, but you have the compassion to really treat them in a respectful manner where they have needs. And that's just, that seems so different than a lot of times when it comes to the opportunities is in our nonprofit. So I commend you on that. And you talked a little bit about that process and individuals. What are some specific programs in with the pantry besides just what you described there, or some inputs or outputs in the programming that you do?
I think in that regard, first of all, it's kind of interesting. There's not a lot of publicity out about us. There's brochures that are hanging in different churches. But really getting the word out about the pantry is done more on a word-to-word basis amongst the congregations, amongst the different churches. That being the Black churches or the other regular congregations in town. It's word of mouth that really is out there for us. And the programs, number one, are the churches will come to us and say, okay, we have somebody that's living out in a trailer out in this part of county and they can't get to you. How can we serve them? So we had an ongoing program, which was basically a homebound program, where we looked and we searched out and found volunteers, typically amongst those 12 congregations we just spoke of, those volunteers that would actually once a month deliver food out to those people that have a deep need, but an inability to come in and take advantage, or family members that could come in and take advantage for them at the pantry on a Wednesday or Thursday of any week of the month. So the homebound program has been an ongoing one, and it's going to be one that we'll talk about here in a minute about our challenge, because I'm always challenged to find ongoing senior volunteers that will do this on a monthly basis, 12 months out of the year. But that is one of our side programs. The other program I like to think about and I like to talk about is the relationship that we have with the university. That first, I want to say, as I said earlier, thank you to the university for providing community service hours as a part of a student's experience. We've had I can see I can see their eyes open up when they come in. First, they come in and they say, what can I do? What should I do? And we give them a pantry list, a shopping list, and we let them have an event, have an experience helping out a person, giving them groceries. And at the end of the 2 hours, it's amazing how their eyes open up and how can we come back and do this again? And I said, anytime you want to. So the other program I think we have that's important from my standpoint is just edification, just illumination to the eyes of both community people and especially to the students of the university as to, one, that there is a food insecurity, but two, you can be an important part of helping in that regard.
Yeah. So John, I anticipate that you're quite busy these days, given our current climate. What are some of the greatest challenges that you've experienced as a nonprofit, either in this current moment or just in day-to-day normal, quote, normal times?
Dealing with food insecurity and dealing with that in any, I won't even just say Oxford, any community, it's a cycling. And I'll start that cycle with January. January, usually your storerooms are full because you're just coming off of Christmas. So you got a wealth of both, usually a little bit of money in the pocket that comes into the bank because of the cash donations, but a wealth of food. Same way with Mid-South Food Bank, which is our primary source of food donations. And let me make that clear. We survive and we make this work because of the free food that we get from the Mississippi Food Network out of Jackson and out of Mississippi Mid-South Food Network out of Memphis. This is food that we're paying 18 cents a pound rather than the full cost of food. So just quickly, if a jar of peanut butter is $1.78 and I'm getting 12 of them for 18 cents a pound, you can see it's a great savings. So food coming in through those sources is primary. And then the rest is cash donations that make it work. We run low on foods by May and June. And the greater population in May and June is thinking about where they're going on vacation, what they're going to do after graduation, and their focus is not upon helping out the pantry. So sometimes the work to get the product on the shelves is cyclic, and sometimes it can be a very big challenge. That challenge is addressed by having churches do May and June food drives, things of that nature. But now let's step back to reality right now with COVID-19. I have these churches calling me and say, what can we do? And I said, the worst thing you could do is go out and do a food drive and put any of your folks in peril. So we have to mitigate that. And we can ask you only to try to maybe find what you have in your cupboard, have a church related drive so that you're not out in harm's way, and just figure out to do a cash donation. The other side of that, there's a lot. If you guys go to Walmart, Kroger, our Cash Savers, you're going to see a lot of shelves that are empty, because the other problem we've had with this is product is just not readily available. Product is being held back. So we've got a lot of lost opportunity. I've got money in the bank through cash found donations, but there's not product to buy. So we have to change. We have to just be flexible with that. So right now we're giving out a lot of food, but it's not the food that we normally gave out. We're not giving out flour, oil, or cornmeal because it's just not on the shelf. But we still can give them milk. We can still give them some eggs now. And thanks to the donation, the large donation we get from Sanderson Farms, everybody gets a whole chicken, a whole frozen chicken. So some things stay the same. Some things have to address and change and just be flexible with the situation. But we are giving food. And now the real challenge, I have to ask these churches to step up and come in and run the pantry, and they have to mitigate their own involvement with the client so that we minimize whatever coronavirus, whatever issue is out there. Thank the Lord, that's not raised its head much in Oxford as yet. And right now, I have all these congregations. Right now, Community Church has stepped up and they're running a pantry here in April. And the Lord bless me, I've got Orchard coming in May. Large congregations, a lot of younger people that can come in and work. And because school's out, these kids can come in and do it during the day, you know, to set up for the Wednesday morning and Thursday morning. But, you know, then come June, we go to First Presbyterian, we get into some of our older senior volunteers. And those are the people that's my challenge, protecting them, but allowing them to step up and help.
Yeah. John, it sounds like you've been so adaptive, and that's really the word of the season right now is how do we adapt? How do we pivot? How do we innovate? Keep people safe, right? But also providing food security, that is also part of safety, right? And so you have to kind of balance those things. And it seems like y'all have done a really good job addressing that challenge. What have been some of the rewards of this work for you, either in this current moment as you've had to be so adaptive, or just in general as you've been so involved with the pantry? What's rewarding about this?
Well, I can go all the way back to October of 2012. And when I walk through the line and I help a 60, 70-year-old woman that's living alone and has a crutch and she's hanging on to that cart, and we get to the door and we had filled up her grocery cart with food. We filled her coat up with some bread from Kroger or donation from Panera. We give her a chicken, we might give her some pork sausage that Kroger has given us. And I help her out the door and she's crying. And I cry with her. And I realize that I made this woman's life so much different and so much there's so much gratification that I feel right at that moment. And I live that moment every month that I have a chance to go work with my volunteers. And I think that's what we all prey on, is the feeling like we've really made a difference. We've really helped someone. That's my number one gratification, is just the feeling that I am making a difference in my small way as a retired man in this community that wants to try to do a little bit more. I feel I'm being successful at that. The other large return that I have on this is every month I get to work with a different congregation, with a different group of people for those 30 days. Their sole effort is to help these people. So I get to see in a nuance every month this new group coming in, and this new group that's excited to be there. And quite frankly, I've got to meet a lot of good people from a lot of different churches. You know, and that's the unique thing, is all these churches have their own different way about how they address the Lord, how they address things, but they all come together and they do the same thing for the same purpose of helping others in our stage of and what we're doing as far as food insecurity. And I'm really blessed to have that relationship with so many different men and women from all these different congregations.
John,
So neat.
it's kind of amazing. You talk about, you know, all nonprofits, people stand up and talk about them doing God's work, and you guys are doing just a tremendous impact, having tremendous impact in our community. And like I told you at the beginning of this, McDonald's always supports these community chats, and I'm going to send those meal cards to you from the team of McDonald's here in the community and Betsy Smith's team. I find it interesting. I have a student right now who's writing her thesis on food insecurity, and you've dropped that term quite a bit throughout this conversation. And you know, it's predicted that over 30% of the people in the state are food insecure. And it's a significant problem, not just in our county, but in our state. And, you know, tell us how we really can, or individuals in our community can contribute to the solution to this problem. What can we do for the organization?
You know, there lies another challenge, because if there's one thing that I've found, and it goes farther outside of Mississippi, but what I found strongly here in Mississippi, there's a level of personal dignity, and people hold themselves to the point that they say, you know, I won't need this help. I don't need to go there. You know, I can make this work on my own. I don't have to be a part of that group that's getting support. So really getting the word out and getting that, as I said, 23% is what Wikipedia tells us that this county is dealing with. And the fact that I'm only on a regular basis feeding, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 different individuals on the court every month when there's 10,500 out there that could be utilizing my support. How do we get the word out? How do we get people to step up and utilize a pantry? My personal thing, I think that's still through the churches. I think the strength of word is through the different churches, those churches that reference and press those people to come over here and take advantage of what we have to offer. That's where I think it needs to happen. Now, the good news is Interfaith Compassion Ministry, those people that are working with the homeless, her group, other groups have no problem at all with walking people over and bringing people to the pantry. So it's a consolidation of all the different nonprofits working together, and I'll give those folks at United Way a big clap and a hand, because they try to really work it out and have monthly luncheons so that we talk together and speak together and work in a unified manner. However, my focus right now is what we just talked about, and that's food insecurity. I think we're doing a good job of it. I think we could do more, but while I say that, I don't want to overstress and overpressure my churches that are already giving as much as they are giving right now on a monthly basis. But I think we could step up and do more. How we do it, the strength of the group, and we do have a lot of strength. I say that again. The Lord has provided a lot of good people to live in Lafayette County. There's a lot of people out here, and they don't come here just to live. They come here to be involved. And there's a lot of outgoing love and compassion to make a lot of things work. And all you have to do is tell the Eagle or tell howdydowdy.com that there's a need, and it comes rolling in. It really does. And I cannot thank the county enough. As a matter of fact, that's I'll stop, because that was my message at the end. I don't want to get into this.
Oh, fantastic. Well, to give you a chance to make that message, so you have 1 minute. What do you have to say to all of the citizens in the LOU community? What message do you most want to share and leave them with today?
If you're retired, if you're looking and seeing how you can make a difference or what you're going to do with tomorrow, there's a wonderful outfit called Retired Seniors Volunteer Program, the RSVP people. You got to speak to one of those folks, because that means there's an opportunity for you to make a difference, not just in the pantry, but in all over the county, to make a difference and put smiles on people's faces and make a difference in their life. Whether it's at the community market, whether it's at the pantry, whether it's over there filling bags for the love packs. There are so many different opportunities here in town that you as a senior need to step up and make a difference in your life and participate in this wonderful organization we call Lafayette County, and all the good people that do step up. And this is a caring community. When I go out and I talk to people in Jackson, or I go out and I sit down at conferences that are held by Mississippi Food Network and see what other counties, poor counties, are trying to deal with, I just thank the Lord that I'm blessed to be here and doing what we're doing here. And thank you, community. Thank you, people of Lafayette County, for stepping up and helping those people in need. I didn't quite take my minute.
Well, John, this is just such an inspiration. No, that was good. This has been such an inspiration to me. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done at the pantry over the years, for the direction that you're providing for this important effort, and for the organizing you're doing amongst congregations. We talk a lot about kind of an asset-based approach to doing community work, and you exemplify that. Just like our partners at Interfaith Compassion Ministries, United Way, you named a number of those folks. You're right, we belong to a really cool constellation of helpers in Lafayette County, and we're lucky to do that. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for all the work that you do. And thank you for being on the show today. We really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. I had a pleasure doing it. And
Great.
By all means, you guys, whenever you need a time to have just a little spark of heart, just come on over and I'll let you help that little old lady through the line, and you'll feel strong when we get back to normalcy. Lord, please get back to normalcy soon.
Amen. Well,
Yes.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in as well. This has been a great show. Wanted to let you know on Friday, we're going to take a little break from community chats, and we're going to show a rerun We will have our interview with Melanie Addington, Executive Director of the Oxford Film Festival, rebroadcasting on Friday. So tune in again at noon. We'll make sure to post that and you can check it out there. We will be back with you live on next Wednesday, May 4th, with Janice Carr from the Gordon Cultural and Community Center. You definitely want to hear from Janice. She is doing outstanding work like all of our guests. So don't miss that on next Wednesday, May 4th at 12 noon right here. In the meantime, please like, comment, and share this live feed with your friends, and be sure to stay tuned, stay engaged, and stay safe. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.